Okay, we're just finishing up the second part on this, talking about, again, the Catholic Church versus the United States, concerning Babylon. Who do you think is Babylon? Is it America? Is it the Catholic Church? Well, again, I have to ask the question. In Revelation 18:4, Yahweh says, "Come out of her, my people," speaking about Babylon, "so that you don't share in her sins." Okay, so this is talking to Yahweh's people. It's not talking to the average person in the world who is not a true believer. It's not talking to pagan people. It's not talking to people who keep the wrong days, the wrong holy days, people who don't follow the correct Elohim, the correct God. It's talking about true believers. And so Yahweh is speaking directly to them in the end time, and evidently some of them are still living inside of this, they're still within this thing called Babylon. So it is incumbent upon us to find out what and who Babylon is. So as we've talked about in the last video of this, just these two parts, that it is the United States. There's so much proof that it is the United States, but you need to, these are just two short videos, you need to go and search it and study it out and either disprove it or prove it. That's what I tried to do. When I first heard this, I rejected it. I said, no way, it can't be the United States. It's the Catholic Church. That's what my church has always told me all these years. It's got to be the Catholic Church. But I didn't do as many people do and just say, it has to be the Catholic Church, and period, and didn't study it. No, I went to the Bible. I went to the Bible and I studied and I got my concordance out and I looked up every instance where it mentions Babylon, Babylonia, and Chaldea, and all of the scriptures that talk about Babylon. And when you look at all of them, the evidence piles up so high that it is not talking about a church. It's talking about a nation, a powerful nation with a strong military and a strong air force. It actually talks about these things. Look at the scriptures. Open your eyes, wake up, forget about the paradigms that you've been told by your church in the past. You need to search these things out for yourself. We have to get rid of our pride, and which is one of the characteristics of Babylon, and we have to look these things up in our Bible. If you don't even search it out in the Bible, then we have nothing to talk about, because at least we have to study this out to prove it or disprove it. And here it says, "Come out of her, my people." So again, I'm going to reiterate, if you think it's the Catholic Church, then I have to say, when it says, "Come out of her, my people," you're Yahweh's people, or you're God's people, as you might say. Do you need to come out of the Catholic Church? Maybe in some strange metaphorical way you think you're going to come out of the Catholic Church, but I don't think true believers are in the Catholic Church. Very few, if there are any, that are actually in the Catholic Church. Okay, now it says, "Come out of her so that you don't share in her sins." Now, I definitely do believe it is the United States, and you should come out of the United States so that you don't share in her sins. Now, you might say, how am I sharing in her sins if I'm in the United States and I live there? Well, do you pay taxes? You sure do. Even if you don't pay taxes every year, you pay taxes on your products that you buy, and all the taxes that you pay go toward, and I'm just going to name a few of the abominations. They go toward paying for abortions. They go for supporting homosexual unions and marriages. They go for war. The United States has wars going on all over the world, not just the places that you know of. The United States has done campaigns all over the place. They don't always tell us what they're doing. And the education system, which is public in the United States, is anti-Bible and anti-Yahweh and anti-Messiah and anti-Christ. And this is the education system that your tax dollar is supporting. So, do you think you're sharing in the sins? Absolutely, you're financing the sins of that country. And there are many more than that. Look at what's on TV every single night, the most popular TV shows, and what is being in music, and the whole culture of the country. It's a filthy, disgusting place. Now, just because there are some religious people living in the country, I'm not criticizing them. I'm talking about the whole nation. The whole nation. And that doesn't mean that aren't worse nations in the world. Of course there are. There are more pagan nations in the world. I mean, look at a nation like China. China's government barely lets its people have access to a Bible, let alone get together for services on the Sabbath every week. It's a very big pagan country. But Yahweh's people, there aren't too many of Yahweh's people there. Yahweh's people are trapped right now like slaves in the United States. The worst part, though, is many of them don't even realize that they're there, and they don't realize that they're slaves and that they're there. But some do, and some are waking up and realize that they have to get out, because it is going to be destroyed. It's going to, just like it says, fallen is Babylon. But most people won't realize it. Just like the people who made fun of Noah when he was building the ark all those years. Just like all of the people when Lot and his wife had to be dragged out of Sodom and Gomorrah. And there's a good situation. That happened for us, that example. Lot went out, and Lot did not look back, because he left physically and he left spiritually. His wife left physically but not spiritually, and that's why she looked back, because that's where she wanted to be, and she loved the sin that she was surrounded by. Are you going to make the same mistake and stay in the United States right till the day of its destruction? Look at the newspapers on the internet. Forget the Bible if you want to. Go look at the articles about Russia and China and the hatred and the anger and the conflicts that are building up that the mainstream media is not letting you see. Do some research. The enemies are building up against the U.S. And it says in Jeremiah 50 and 51 that Yahweh will stir up the anger of the Medes, the spirit of the Medes. One of the interpretations of the Medes, if you look on old Bible maps, does coincide with the southern parts of Russia. And there's definitely little conflicts building up between Russia and the U.S. They're getting bigger every day. Or do you not realize that Russia is doing war games and has ships right off the coast of Venezuela and teaming up with Venezuela, with Hugo Chavez, who isn't too fond of the U.S.? Russia also put ships off the coast of Syria, and Syria is an ally of Iran. Wake up and read the newspaper, see what's happening. So if you say that you think it's the Catholic Church, then I have to say, when Yahweh says, "Come out of her, my people," are you in the Catholic Church? No, but you're certainly probably living in the United States if you're listening to this, or Canada. And if you are, Yahweh says, "Come out of her, my people," so that you don't continue to share in her sins, and so that you don't receive of her plagues. Because her plagues are coming, and her destruction is coming, and it's going to be terrible and fast. And Yahweh doesn't want you to suffer that. He wants you to be out of there. That doesn't mean you're not going to suffer when you get out. There's going to be difficult times, because the tribulation time and period is coming, and everyone on earth is going to suffer. But he wants you out of there, because it's going to be utterly destroyed. Look at what happens. Babylon is completely destroyed. Nothing will be left. Nothing, not even animals practically. Please, blow the dust off your Bible, study this, get a concordance. They're pretty cheap nowadays. They're about $10 or $15 for a concordance. Look up every instance of Babylon and Chaldea, another name for Babylon. Even Abraham was told, get up and leave ancient Babylon, and he set us a good example. He obeyed immediately. He got up and he left, and he followed the voice of Yahweh, and he left. Read your Bible, follow Yahweh's voice.